So stick around as I review the Omen 32-inch display by Hewlett-Packard. Okay, looking at the front of the monitor, it has an anti-glare screen, so reflection shouldn't be a problem. The bezel measures approximately ½ an inch or 12.7 millimeters wide. The control panel is on the right-hand side around the back, and we'll take a look at that in a minute. And then you have the cool little Omen logo on the center of the bottom bezel. And here's a shot of the Omen from the side. Here's a shot of the forward tilt or downward tilt. Here's a shot of the rear tilt, and the Omen stand is not height adjustable. Here's a shot of the back right buttons for the control panel. The back has a textured matte material which should resist fingerprints fairly well. I also have the Omen logo on the back. It's got kind of a reflective material. I'm not sure if that lights up. It'd be cool if it did. We'll see when we hook it up. Connection wise, we have the power input and an integrated USB 2.0 hub. For inputs, we have two HDMIs and a DisplayPort 1.2. The Omen also comes with a VESA mount adapter. So what you would do is take this screw out here, and then you would obviously take the stand off, and then this would just hook up in there, and then this would tighten into where you take out this screw. And then you can install this on a VESA mount. And here's a few shots to show the difference between my old 27-inch monitor and the 32-inch Omen. Now before I get started playing, I want to talk about a few of the specs that I think make this monitor a great choice for gaming. The first one is the 5 millisecond response time, which isn't the fastest, but it's actually pretty good for gaming. You know, unless you're a hardcore first-person shooter or a professional gamer, it's going to be just fine. Most people won't be able to notice the difference. The 75 Hz refresh rate is another plus when it comes to gaming, and if you have an AMD GPU, the FreeSync will benefit you that much more. I also think the size of this monitor at 1440p is just unbeatable for gaming. I personally like the 16:9 format. Some people like the wider monitors. But for me, this is a perfect size for gaming. It's not too big, but it's big enough. I also want to mention that I took out my GTX 1080 and replaced it with my GTX 770. I think this will be a far better representation for people that are looking to upgrade their monitors but are worried about their existing video cards not being able to keep up. Obviously, the GTX 1080 will run this monitor no problem. The 770 does struggle a little, but it actually does better than I thought it would. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and play a couple games. I know you won't be able to get the full impact of the games because I'm recording it on my camera. But I'll try to describe what I'm seeing and if I think the colors are good and if there's any ghosting or things like that. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, we're going to begin with Doom on ultra settings at 2560 by 1440p. And again, I'm using the GTX 770. Now, I've already been gaming with this monitor for about 3 days because I wanted to have enough time to really give a good evaluation of its quality. And so far, I'm really impressed with it. The colors and the clarity are amazing. I haven't noticed any ghosting at all. And the contrast and image quality I'm just really impressed with it. Now, unfortunately, the camera isn't able to show just how good this monitor is. So it's kind of pointless to have a long segment of me playing games when you really can't even see what the monitor's capable of. So I'm just going to play 2 short sections of games, and then I'm going to move on to some more testing. Colors. Another thing you can do with this image is check for convergence, making sure all the lines are straight with sharp edges. And honestly, I think everything looks really good on this particular screen. And then next we have the solid black screen, and this is to check for light bleed from behind the screen. Now it kind of looks like there is some light bleed, but that is actually reflecting from a light behind me. To my eyes, it's perfectly black. Okay, so then we have the white screen, and unfortunately the camera blurred out a little bit on this image, but what I want to point out is mostly on the left-hand side, about a third of the screen, there's some yellowing, and it almost makes the white image look a little dirty. It's also a little bit on the right side. And this has me a little concerned about this monitor because to my eyes, it's actually more prominent than what you can see from the camera. Now, this could be a deal breaker for some people, and for me it might be, because every time I look at a white screen, I see this little kind of dirty looking white. It's not in the middle, it's just on the edges. And it just really bothers me every time I turn on the monitor. I check my emails or I go to a screen, a website even, that has some white background, I see it. So I'm going to get a hold of Costco's customer service and exchange this monitor so I can see if this is just an isolated incident or if it shows up on the next one. And honestly, that's why I bought this at Costco, because when you buy a monitor online, you're taking a chance. So you want to buy it somewhere that there's no problem exchanging it or returning it. It's kind of sad because everything else about this monitor is awesome. I love it. But I guess nothing's perfect. Okay, so moving on, here we have a grayscale screen, and again you can see the dark color in the corners. Okay, so here's a test pattern for convergence. Now this should look like a grid of sharp white pinpricks, and I don't see anything wrong with this. It looks really good. And this is another convergence test, and all the lines should be sharp and straight without any blurring. And then these following screens are just contrast for colors and black and white. Next we have the font test, and basically this just has various size fonts so you can check to make sure they're clear and legible, which to my eyes all the way down to the very smallest are clear. And this is the LCD persistence test, and just like it sounds, it checks to make sure that the pixels on the screen don't have too much persistence. And what it does is it checks for the amount of time the pixel stays illuminated after the pixel's been turned off. So as these little squares move across the screen, if you have too much persistence, it's going to leave a trail behind. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for the testing. This software has a lot more tests that I put this monitor through, but it would have been pointless to sit here and go through them all when you can't actually see them for yourself. So I just went ahead and showed you the ones I thought were the most important. And honestly, the monitor passed most of them with flying colors. And finally, I want to mention that this whole video was edited on this monitor. And I have to say, it was really nice having all this extra space to do it. That, along with the crisp details and the really nice colors of this monitor, I am so hopeful that when I get the replacement monitor, it doesn't have the issue that I talked about in the video. Because if it does, it's going to be really hard to go back to a 27-inch screen. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some good information from it. If you have this monitor, please let me know if you're having any issues with it or how you feel about it. So if you like this video, hit subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.